Breaking news today. Washington is turning the tide on crime and chaos. Federal actions are sweeping away failed policies that prioritized criminals and non-citizens over American families. Why has protecting these families become a controversial issue? And who truly benefits from maintaining the disorder?
Hello, and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
Fox News reports that Stephen Miller is criticizing Democrats over the crime crisis, accusing them of prioritizing criminals and illegal aliens. He questions why protecting American families has become controversial and criticizes Democratic leaders for seemingly prioritizing lawbreakers over law-abiding citizens, who are expected to accept rising violence as the new normal. He argues that this isn't compassion but a calculated strategy that sacrifices public safety for political power. The current administration, he claims, prioritizes Americans by dismantling sanctuary city policies and restoring order in Washington. In contrast, he suggests the previous administration focused more on appeasing global elites and open border activists than on defending the nation. He challenges the audience to consider why making hundreds of arrests, removing violent offenders, and holding illegal aliens accountable is seen as controversial, suggesting that for some in Washington, chaos is part of the plan. Here we go again.
Additionally, we have seen over 70 homeless encampments that have scarred and disfigured the public streets of this city, dismantled and thrown away, and the homeless cleared from those encampments. At the same time, we have the National Park Service going around and getting rid of the gang graffiti that has been left untouched by this city for decades. Since I've lived here, I moved to Washington, D.C. 20 years ago. And I've seen graffiti in some of our landmarks that has gone unremoved for decades that is now being cleared away. You have gang members that are being taken off the streets. You have druggies that are being taken off the streets. You have our parks being made safe again, our transit being made safe again.
The transformation underway in Washington is nothing short of remarkable. For years, the city's public spaces were marred by sprawling homeless encampments and unchecked gang graffiti, direct consequences of neglect and failed policies from previous administrations. Now, decisive federal action is making a difference. Encampments are being dismantled, streets cleared, and the National Park Service is restoring our landmarks to their former glory. We are witnessing a return to basic law and order, a principle that should never have been controversial. The deployment of federal law enforcement and the National Guard has revitalized our parks and transit corridors, signaling an end to the era of permissiveness and chaos. This approach isn't just about enforcement, it's about restoring public trust and reclaiming the capital for law-abiding citizens. Contrast this with the previous administration, which often prioritized the interests of non-citizens and fringe activists over those of ordinary Americans. Their sanctuary city policies and refusal to cooperate with federal immigration authorities allowed criminal elements to flourish, compromising public safety and eroding national sovereignty. The city became plagued by violence, drug abuse, and deteriorating public spaces. Now, under federal leadership, we are seeing tangible results: hundreds of arrests, weapons seizures, and a significant reduction in visible crime. Integrating immigration enforcement with local policing has been a game changer, addressing the link between illegal immigration and gang activity that was previously ignored. This model of governance puts American interest first and refuses to succumb to globalist pressures or media-driven narratives. While the mainstream media and political establishment may express concerns about federal overreach, ordinary citizens are experiencing real improvements in their neighborhoods. The administration's willingness to tackle sanctuary policies head-on, despite potential political backlash, exemplifies the bold action needed to rectify years of dysfunction. Washington is now a symbol of what can be achieved when the government challenges failed orthodoxies and prioritizes the safety of its people above all else.
Too many times we have seen stories of criminally illegal aliens. You've covered it so much, Griff, who they get caught and released, until one day they shoot someone in the head, or they rape an innocent girl, or they commit some heinous crime. So here in Washington now, we're finding these criminally illegal aliens, and at the first opportunity, we're picking them up and we're sending them out of the country. You know, the sigh of relief that I have seen from the local communities in this city. You see people going online saying, for the first time that I can remember, I don't hear gunshots ringing out at night anymore. I just saw a video posted by a gentleman who walked from his neighborhood in the southeast all the way to the White House, and he said in the whole way through, he saw no gang members, no violence, no homeless camps, no public drug use. He said it was like living in a different city.
The recent enforcement of laws and prioritization of public safety are yielding visible results. For years, the previous administration and its congressional allies promoted sanctuary city policies that restricted local law enforcement and implicitly condoned illegal entry into the U.S. This not only undermined the rule of law, but also compromised the safety of American citizens and encouraged further lawlessness. Now, with federal authorities collaborating closely with immigration enforcement, Washington has become a prime example of the benefits of putting citizen interest first. The statistics are telling. Since the beginning of the year, violent crime, aggravated assaults, and gun violence have significantly decreased. Aggravated assaults are down by over 60%, gun assaults have halved, and violent crimes have reduced by more than a quarter compared to last year. These aren't just numbers, they represent real improvements in the safety and quality of life for families and communities. This turnaround is the result of shifting from progressive policies to a focus on enforcement, accountability, and the deportation of repeat offenders. The integration of federal immigration agents with local police and the cessation of the catch and release practice have sent a clear message. Lawbreakers who pose a threat to our communities will be promptly removed. Despite criticism from some media outlets and political opponents about federal overreach and threats to local autonomy, it's clear that previous policies contributed to the crisis. For too long, certain political groups have used illegal immigration as a tool to potentially reshape the electorate and secure power, often overlooking the consequences for public safety and national sovereignty. The current administration's approach is resonating with the public, evident from the safer streets and restored order. The deployment of the National Guard and federal law enforcement was a necessary step to ensure security and show that the federal government will not tolerate chaos. As this model prompts discussions in other cities plagued by similar issues, the partisan divide is stark. Republicans advocate for the rule of law and the safety of American citizens, while Democrats continue to support sanctuary policies that hinder effective reform. With elections on the horizon, voters face a clear choice between continued dysfunction and a government that prioritizes their safety and national interests. These changes in Washington are more than local improvements. They serve as a blueprint for restoring order and sovereignty across the nation, and they stand as a warning against prioritizing ideology over the well-being of the American people.
Bass, I want to play a little bit of that for you and get your reaction.
And they decided they were going to come and thumb their nose in front of the governor's face. Why would you do that? That is unbelievably disrespectful. It's a provocative act. They're talking about disorder in Los Angeles, and they are the source of the disorder in Los Angeles right now. Why is this helpful to anybody at all? At this point, this doesn't have anything to do with immigration at all.
Mayor,
this is about causing trouble in our city.
What do you say, Stephen?
The mayor of Los Angeles and the governor of California were in the largest sanctuary city and the largest sanctuary state in America. They refused to turn over tens of thousands of serial criminal illegal aliens to ICE.
When activists march up to the governor and mayor in California, making a spectacle and openly defying law enforcement, it's not just disrespectful, it's a calculated attempt to provoke chaos and undermine the rule of law. The true disorder in Los Angeles stems not from outside agitators, but from the policies of city and state leaders who protect criminal illegal aliens from federal authorities. These sanctuary policies have transformed Los Angeles into a major safe haven for those who violate our immigration laws, prioritizing the interests of non-citizens and repeat offenders over the safety of American families. Fox News has highlighted the consequences of these policies effectively, but their coverage could be enhanced by a deeper analysis of the data and a more critical examination of local officials' claims. For instance, the city's annual homeless count reports a slight decrease in homelessness, yet the majority of those without homes remain on the streets, and the city revises its numbers privately without timely public or official disclosure. These statistics reflect ongoing struggles with encampments, crime, and disorder, directly linked to failed progressive policies. Fox's use of visual storytelling, showcasing the encampments and confrontations between activists and law enforcement, effectively demonstrates the real-world impact of these policies. While the inclusion of expert opinions from immigration policy analysts and law enforcement leaders is valuable, there is room to balance official statements with independent verification and on-the-ground reporting. Mainstream media often downplays the link between sanctuary policies and rising crime, or dismisses criticism as racially or politically motivated. This does a disservice to Americans who seek safe streets and a government that prioritizes their interests. The Trump administration's approach of integrating federal immigration enforcement with local policing and rejecting sanctuary policies has led to significant reductions in crime and violence in Washington, D.C. The results speak for themselves. California's leaders' refusal to cooperate with ICE stems from political calculation rather than compassion or justice. The American people deserve more than politicians who perform for the cameras while neglecting the real consequences of their decisions. Fox News is correct to focus on this issue, but there is a broader responsibility to hold all officials accountable regardless of party and to demand transparency and results, not just rhetoric. The lesson from Washington, D.C. is clear. When the government prioritizes enforcement, accountability, and the interests of its citizens over ideology, order can be restored. This is the model Los Angeles and other cities should follow. The American people are watching, and they demand change.
They then go on to commit crimes like assault, armed robbery, home invasion, and murder. The most unimaginable, egregious crimes you could think of. All of that blood, all of that suffering, all of that heartache, squarely on the soul and conscience of California's governor and the mayor of Los Angeles. They are guilty of crimes against humanity. They are facilitating child trafficking, sex trafficking. Look, they think this is a game. They think this is a joke. This is life and death. When you meet with the families, as you have, Griff, whose loved ones have been raped and killed and slaughtered by criminal illegal aliens who have no right to be in this country, what Newsom are doing and what Bass is doing are unforgivable.
Criminal violence and lawlessness carry significant economic impacts that extend beyond individual families, affecting entire communities by depressing property values and forcing businesses to close or relocate. In Los Angeles, despite a notable 20% decrease in homicides and a similar drop in violent crime, the city is experiencing a concerning rise in property crimes and smash-and-grab robberies, particularly in downtown and South Los Angeles. These aren't mere statistics. They lead to higher insurance premiums for homeowners and small businesses, job losses when stores close, and an investment-stifling climate of fear. The refusal of city leaders to cooperate with federal immigration authorities contributes to a breakdown in the rule of law, empowering repeat offenders and organized crime. The costs of such policies extend beyond crime rates, encompassing billions spent on emergency responses, medical care for victims, and the economic downturn of declining neighborhoods. For working families, this translates into less disposable income, whether through increased taxes to support inflated public safety budgets or through the indirect costs of rising retail prices due to theft and vandalism. The business community, especially in retail and hospitality, has raised concerns as high-profile robberies and home invasions prompt companies to reconsider expansion plans or relocate. This migration erodes the tax base, reducing funds available for schools, infrastructure, and social services, while law-abiding residents suffer from deteriorating neighborhoods and diminishing security. In contrast, cities and states that collaborate with federal immigration authorities report improvements in public safety, renewed business confidence, and economic revitalization. Clearly, prioritizing the safety and interests of American citizens is not only a moral imperative, but also crucial for economic prosperity. The refusal of some political leaders to enforce laws and protect their citizens is not only reckless but economically indefensible. When policies prioritize criminal elements over working families, it creates a divided society, one where the politically connected and activists are shielded from consequences, while ordinary Americans bear the costs in terms of safety, financial stability, and lost opportunities. This is unsustainable. It's time for a new approach that prioritizes American families, small businesses, and the rule of law, ensuring safe and prosperous communities for everyone. This leaves us with so many things to consider. Critics argue that borders are irrelevant, that American citizenship is merely a formality, and that the safety of your family is secondary to the political goals of those in power. Consider who truly benefits when the government disregards your voice and rewards lawbreakers. It certainly isn't the average citizen. During the previous Democratic administration, chaos and disregard for law were commonplace, and American workers suffered as a result. Now, with President Trump in office, we see a leader who prioritizes American interests, confronts globalist agendas, and unapologetically defends our nation. If standing up for your home is deemed extremist, perhaps it's time to reevaluate who the real extremists are. What do you think? Give us your thoughts below, plus don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be back with more soon.